maximum fear. That's maximum fear, to be down at home, down 2-0, third period, you're down, and you need goals
That's
late.
the kind of fear you're talking about.
That's
man.
the good shit.
Yeah.
It was fear and anger, disappointment. I just sat in the second intermission between the second and third period. I just sat at my seat. Usually I go up, I mingle. I just sat there. Wow. My wife came back. She's like, "Are you just going to sulk?" And I'm just like,
But, Chris, that is Dan's point. All of that, you throw that all in a pot, and that's what made the goal and the win feel so good, right?
And that arena was so quiet.
Oh, but how loud did it get?
My wife's like, we need more energy.
But how loud did it get on the? It's the best sound in sports. The horn with the overtime goal that ends the game. That sound has never existed in South Florida for a finals game, like our final game. Like that is the biggest game the Panthers have ever played, and they win it at the end in the most joyous of fashions.
Chris, in that intermission, down 2-1, what was going through your mind?
Just, why did I spend all this money on season tickets? I hate everything. I hate hockey. This sport is stupid.
Yeah.
So,
Bob blew it.
Was it?
No. He did not.
I was mad at everyone.
He was great last night.
I meant like right there in the intermission. They're down 2-1 between the second and third. That's what he was thinking. What were you thinking, Roy, between the second and third?
It felt like it was 4-1.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys felt like...
and we were getting jobbed. I don't want to sit in this chair and do the Mike Ryan thing. The
Again
ticky-tack penalties and that tripping
bad.
call.
Yeah.
And that tripping call.
All
Dude,
right.
it's legitimately bad calls.
Okay, but there are legitimately bad calls all over the playoffs, and you don't care when your team gets them, which your team often does.
But the Panthers got off to a good start, though. They got off
We
to a
can
good
hear
start.
that post-game.
$5,
Roy.
$5.
You know what? Leave Roy alone,
No,
man.
He powered through. Yeah, he powered through.
Thank you. All right, they
All
got
right, hold on. Billy, Tony, Stugotz, Roy, all of you out of here.
Wow.
Penalty box.
They're in a Panthers
It's
segment?
a $5 fine for powering through. The phlegm is not something we want around here, and you guys,
It's not my fine.
you guys aren't respecting the penalty box.
It's not-
Everyone stays here and then starts making the arguments on behalf of why you should stay here because you again drank too much, like a mean. All Meadowlark Media is doing is drinking too much. You're happy because you get to go to Game 5 on an expense account. It's the only reason you're happy. You get to go to Vegas to tell us that that the Panthers are on the power play.
Unbelievable. I had 2 drinks.
What time did you get home last night, Roy? Come on.
Why is he still here?
I got home at 3.
$5. Go
you're
sit
supposed
in
to
the
leave.
penalty box.
A lot of
Pay
work.
me enough to be
Chris.
paying fines over here.
It's a lot of work after the game, man.
Amin is here. Charlotte is here. Jeremy is here. No Mike Ryan. Mike Ryan yesterday was Donald Trump. When he loses, it's rigged. Mm-hmm. And it was terrible, like really terrible to do after a finals game where it was just him unhinged saying it's all rigged and fixed.
I banned him from the mixer. I said, absolutely not. You cannot come.
But can I acknowledge that there were some calls that, like, I'm not saying it's rigged. I'm saying there were bad calls against the Panthers.
There are in every game ever played. These games are hard to officiate. Those people are
hard.
moving very fast.
It looked like tripping in real time. I was like, definitely tripping, and then they slow it down. I'm like, he didn't touch him!
I've got people for 2 days telling me that Lowry did indeed push Jokic that way.
With his weak arm,
That's
just shoved it.
that I've got to look at it again. I've got to look at it again because Jokic is indeed a weakling who could be pushed around by Kyle Lowry.
The penalty late last night honestly made it even better when they won, though. It was so much fun because they tie it with 2 minutes left, and then with just a few seconds left, they get called for this penalty. So you're going into overtime thinking you should have all the momentum, and yet they have the power play. And so once the power play was killed, that place was insane. It was so much fun.
Matthew Tkachuk does it again, Dan. 2.5 minutes left in this game.
But
this is mind-boggling.
Chris, I saw Adam Beasley puts out the question is not whether Tkachuk returns for the game. It's whether he returns for the series. And when he leaves the ice, what you're saying is, oh, the season's over. There it is. There goes the season back to the locker room. But thankfully, hockey doesn't care about concussions.
That's true.
Wild.
We've never talked about concussions in
He
really
stumbled. I don't know, maybe it was just he fell. I don't know if it was a concussion, but he got hit, got up, and there was a stumble, and I was like, oh, no, we can't lose him.
And then came back into the game.
Montour, too, played through something. These guys are crazy.
Well, I don't understand why I'm watching and Montour is taking slap shots that are harder than any he's ever taken. Like, he takes plenty hard slap shots, but the puck is coming off of his stick faster and harder than anyone else's.
The Panthers tried to clear out a puck at one point and just absolutely smacked, I think, one of the stalls in the leg. It sounded like a gunshot, and he just kept skating. He was fine. It's like these guys are unbelievably tough. It's really crazy.
I have a question for Chris and Jeremy mostly, I think. Chris, you said that you were sitting there thinking, we're down. Why did I spend all this money? I felt that way during Game 3 when the Celtics blew it. And it's this moment as a fan where you feel so stupid. You
Like
feel
an idiot.
You feel so dumb. You're like, why did I pay to come to this?
my favorite.
Even though you knew when you bought the tickets, but in your head, there's no chance. It's like, I'm going to go, and it's going to be incredible. And I wonder, does that feeling, being down and then winning, is that like when you lose your car keys, and it's almost worth it for the relief of finding them?
It's more like losing your cell phone. It's like I think I've totally lost my cell phone. I have all my pictures of my kid are in there. I don't know if they're in the cloud. I think they're in the cloud. Who knows if they're really in the cloud?
But I don't think it's your cell phone. I think it's like losing your entire identity.
It's your whole wallet
And then you
and
find
your
it,
soul.
but then you find it. Then you find it in overtime, and you're like, oh, okay.
Losing your child.
I was being defiant. My wife is like, it's so quiet in here. We got to get louder. The energy's terrible with like 5 minutes left. I'm like, no, I've done enough.
They
need
don't
to get,
deserve
the
your
players,
energy.
I've done
The players
enough.
need to get me back in this game.
Really?
And they did. Tkachuk got a goal, and then I was back.
Okay,
I
so-
was like, no, I'm not going to make noise. They need to make me make noise.
So
I've done enough for them.
You weren't sulking. You were seething.
I was just like mad at everybody.
Yeah.
I was like blaming my wife because it was her first finals game. I was like, you shouldn't have been here. You weren't here last game.
Chris.
I was
Oh,
shrapnel.
wow.
I was shrapnel.
I've never seen Chris this type of like upset or angry or negative, right? He's always been a very positive person. You're the guy who says we need to bring up the energy. You're that guy. And your wife was doing what you usually do, and you said, enough.
I was just so beaten down.
Oh my God.
But it got me back.
We
That
down
Tkachuk did it again. Tkachuk did what Jimmy needs to do for the Heat. Just do it.
Well-
At the end,
well-
just let it find you, pull it out of your front, and just do it.
All right,
I don't care
well,
how
that's
it looks.
good.
I don't
I
care
like
who
it.
wins I don't care what, sloppy plays, foul just get it done, Jimmy.
I
We need
like
you
it.
tonight to get it done. The way Tkachuk saved us last night. We weren't expecting it. Tkachuk was invisible. He came back in that second period, and we didn't see him for most of the game. He was in, and then
We have not seen Jimmy in the finals, really. He's not the best player on the court.
Is he hurt?
The last 10 games have looked a lot different than the previous 10 games. But he does get to skate over the last couple of years of every time he plays poorly, well, it's because he's hurt, because his legs give out. But we'll get to that in a second. I need to analyze a little more. As badly as Chris Cody felt, I believe that Roy felt worse, because I'm going to tell you why. The number of things. Amin has claimed, and I think he's right, that Roy had the unluckiest day in the history of an employee at Meadowlark Media yesterday. He had the day off or work from home, and he missed the Stanley Cup coming here, and then, this one hurts even more, he missed the free alcohol at Amin's Mixer.
Oh, Roy.
And then he gets to the press box, and there's so many people in town, he's getting moved in the press box to less good seats. And now he's watching the third period, and there goes his trip to Vegas on an expense account.
Woof.
Gone. And then, at the height of fear and depression, rising like a phoenix from the ashes, Roy gets a victory and a season saved, and a victory he's been waiting for 30 years.
Yeah.
We're going to Vegas. We're going to Vegas.
Did Billy have a better seat than you?
No. He's on the other end of the row.
I didn't, but there was a spot reserved for MTV Sport Finland, which I didn't know was a thing.
You got worse seats than NHL Sports Finland, was it? NHL?
No.
MTV.
MTV.
In fairness,
Music television.
I feel like the Finns, is that what you call them?
Yes. That's
I
what
feel like they care about hockey a whole lot. So if they're going to get a seat anywhere, maybe they deserve it.
Well, Alexander Barkov and Anton Lundell, they're both Finns. So
Fins up.
Fins up.
MTV Finland?
MTV
I don't
Sport
know.
Finland.
It felt like a fun position to take.
You lost your seat to MTV Sport Finland?
that's a mouthful.
That's not a great situation, though, Roy.
It was cool seeing the cup. Look at us up
Dude, how happy were Roy? It was so
there. I'm
awesome.
sorry, Roy.
Roy, it was so
I've seen it.
No time to get to Dalvin Cook. No time to get to Louis Riddick and Emmanuel Acho saying the Dolphins are going to win the AFC East.
Doesn't that feel nice? We're not talking Dolphins yet. I mean, usually we've been talking Dolphins for like a month now. But listen, we have a month going on right now, Dan. We have 2 months going on right now. We have a shot at 2 championships.
Billy's keeping an eye on the Marlins. We got Tony keeping an eye on Dalvin Cook.
Just got an eye on it for him.
So we'll keep you updated.
Thank you. We'll have to send someone out next week to see if we can get covered correctly, something we also don't have any time for today, which is a former president being indicted for espionage.
Which one?
Right here in Miami, Jimmy Carter.
Oh,
wow.
that's a shame. I didn't see that coming.
That peanut farm tax fraud.
Roy, what is the more startling stat? Is it that the Panthers won 8 straight road playoff games as an 8 seed, or that they're 7-0 in overtime?
7-0 in overtime. And an addendum to that, Carter Verhaeghe is the only player in NHL history to have multiple overtime goals in consecutive playoffs.
Confirmed.
He's the most clutch player in Panthers history.
And we hit that Thursday Thunder with that goal last night.
Roy, is he? I mean, it's not Tkachuk, Chucky.
I mean, yeah, right now it's Tkachuk and it's Carter Verhaeghe, especially Carter Verhaeghe. Remember, he won Game 6 in
No, I
Washington
understand that, but it feels like most of the big goals that have been scored this postseason have been by Tkachuk. It feels like that to
Verhaeghe
me.
has had overtime.
Billy,
goals.
I'm with you. Billy, I'm with you. That looks at it all. You got to pick one, okay? You can't have them both be the most clutch. Pick one.
No.
Pick one.
What he said was it's both, but more so one than
Everyone
the other.
back off. Roy is totally right. They have been equally as clutch. Verhaeghe won the Boston series for us.
You can't be equally
I
as
can rattle
clutch.
off 3 insanely clutch goals for both
You got to
of them.
take a side. Someone's either the most clutch or they're
overall
not.
or this season?
You
What's
can't-
the question?
I don't
Because
need
overall it's
nuance here.
Verhaeghe because of last year with Washington.
Yeah.
If it's just this year, I'll go with Tkachuk.
The Verhaeghe goal doesn't happen without the
Exactly.
Tkachuk goal.
Exactly
I mean,
right.
it doesn't.
That's
Tkachuk
true.
got him to the Verhaeghe goal. It's a bridge. You needed that goal to get to Carter's goal, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the most important part of a bridge?
I'd say the upbeat tempo leading into the next chorus.
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. You're right. You're right.
C-Dub, well said.
You're not supposed to raise your arms in triumph.
Yes, you
when-
are.
No, she deserved it.
What's the opposite of the
Good.
penalty
It was
box?
a good joke. It's a good joke.
Mars. I'm going to Mars, baby.
Where's Hakeem Nicks?
I want to because I feel like we really did fail as a show yesterday. Yeah, we got him in his mixer, and it was a grand success, and you can hear it in his voice.
How much you spend?
I don't know. All of it. He spent all of it.
You guys talking to
Bet
me?
the farm, like Jimmy Carter.
He wants to be a player, and he is, and he was a player. He had a speakeasy cool party
Still
yesterday with free-flowing alcohol, and you can hear it in his voice. But a couple of things I wanted to get to with you that we didn't get to yesterday because, again, Mike Ryan is Trump. When he loses, it's rigged. I mean, that's where we spent the show yesterday. Do you realize how stupid that is? How stupid and irresponsible it is that I couldn't get a word in edgewise because I've got a total coked-out maniac pinballing off the walls here,
Allegedly.
accusing everyone recklessly of fraud because he lost.
If Tkachuk doesn't get that goal, Roy and I are saying the same stuff about the Panthers last night.
Dan,
Yeah,
he had
probably.
rigs, though. Once you say rigs, like, that's the trump card.
Roy was saying it in the press box, apparently.
Far, far removed from MTV Sport Finland. How insulted were you by your seats? How different were
That's
your seats?
insulting,
How
man.
different were your seats?
Tell them to
than
go to
they normally are?
Helsinki.
Well, this is a situation. So this is a situation. The National Hockey League took over the building. This is not a Panther situation. They issued all the seat assignments out. So they moved basically almost everybody local except for George Richards to the auxiliary press box.
George Richards, yeah.
Wait,
You
wait,
don't
wait,
move
wait.
George Richards.
So I have a very important question about the auxiliary press box. Having been put there many times myself, was this like you're in a basement with the TV situation?
No.
Okay.
We were in the last row. You
Good.
literally
Okay.
could touch the ceiling. Like, I
Still-
touched it just to say
But
I
as
touched
long,
it.
as,
I
long
did
as it
too.
wasn't like a trailer attached to the building,
But the thing is, there were high top tables. So if you sat down in the seats, because we were in like section 325, you're missing a third You're missing a third of the ice. Yeah, we were in the section. Yeah.
We're in a section. Roy, that's disrespectful to you. Billy deserves to be in a section.
Whoa.
Roy should be in his
Whoa.
seat. Roy's there every game.
Yep.
Billy, to Chris's point, we were talking about Roy being in the Hall of Fame of like Panthers, media people on the wall.
I saw that wall.
And Roy's face is going to be in that
It
wall.
wasn't on it, but there was a question as to whether or not Steve Goldstein was on there, and we didn't know he is on there. I'd just like to confirm.
Well, we need to
report that.
explain to the Panthers. They need to correct a couple of things. Both Roy's seating for the next game and Roy on the wall. Roy is a local Hall of Fame media legend who has been covering games much longer than most of the people, the grand majority of the people who are in that building, covering bad games.
Except for MTV Finland. Like,
Yeah.
I think they earned something somewhere
The
at some point.
Finns, I'm telling you, they love hockey.
I got a bad. This is my first game covering NHL hockey as a member of the media. Normally, I just go as a fan, but I had to put that aside because it's too big of a moment. I've often said a Stanley Cup final game does not get played in Sunrise without Billy Gill.
That's right.
So I had
Your
to be
tweets were
there.
riveting.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate that. I will say I have to betray a couple of people here. One, I asked for advice on the front end, and I said, well, I have to go pick up my credential. How early should I get there? And Roy said, you need to get there really early. And I was like, oh, okay.
Good advice.
So then I spoke to, and I told Stugotz, like, I got to get out of here because Roy said I got to. And he's like, I went to one last year. I was credentialed. You got to get there really early. And I knew that we were going to be in seats that were not assigned. They were first come, first served. So I was like, I got to get there really early. Game was scheduled to start at 8 o'clock. I got there at 4:30. I was the only person in the arena when I got
Billy.
there.
Oh, buddy.
4:30, because it's so far from my house too.
Right.
And I didn't remember how far it was, and I didn't know traffic
the
wise
Everglades.
how long it was going to take me to get there. I got there at 4:30. I spent 90 minutes just kind of being ushered around by Josh Appel, who was working the game in stats. And he was kind of showing me the things. And I was asking Roy, I'm like, Roy, where do I go? Blah, blah, blah. All this stuff. He's like, I don't know. I haven't left. You haven't left that. You told me I needed to be there super early. I was there 4 hours before puck
I
drop.
think you probably experienced what I've experienced when I get to an arena that early, because it is at a temperature meant to keep.
It was so cold in
Yes,
there.
of course,
It
because you're
was
by
so
yourself. That's for
cold in
20,000 people.
It was so cold in there at that time. It was crazy. But I will say this. I did get some scoops while I was there so early.
Scooping it.
And tried to feed a member of this show a scoop to break news and tweet out. And the person just turned down that scoop.
Who was the person and what was the scoop?
Chris Cody, obviously.
It was me.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Yeah, he tried to tell me
I
who was
wasn't gonna
banging the
say that.
drum. Like, there was a big celebrity in town
Right.
that banged the drum, and
Yeah.
Billy, I guess, was so early that he saw, like, rehearsal
I
for
saw
it.
multiple rehearsals of it. So we've talked on the show, like, who's going to be the person to hit the drum. It's not something that's like real news that people care about, but like Panthers fans may care about this. Like, oh, who's it going to be? Because we all kind of guess who it is. So I saw multiple rehearsals where the announcer was saying the name. I saw the graphics. I go, hey, you want to know who's doing it? Here's the – yeah, they didn't know I was there. I was like, you know who's doing it? Like, it's X, Y. It was Dan Marino. I was like, Dan Marino's banging the drum if you want
Wait
to
a
put
minute,
that
he
out
was
there.
there 3.5 hours
No,
early?
they had like a stand-in.
What are you,
Yeah, he
lying?
was practicing banging the
There
drum.
is
Dan
no
Marino
reason-
was like, let me get another go.
That's why it was
Let
a
me get
great
another
Marino.
go.
All the snaps.
Marino and Billy Gill?
There is no way he rehearsed it because he was terrible.
Oh.
Dude, there is a
Oh,
pace,
man.
Roy.
Careful.
Back me up.
Chris.
There's a pace to this thing. I'll do it right now. We're going
Okay.
to do it. I'm going to do the beat, and you guys say, let's go Panthers. This is the way
But
it's
it's got to
supposed
be aggressive and loud. His was a little meek.
That's against my religion.
It was a little meek.
This is the way it's supposed to go. Wait.
No, he's got to go. You got to go. You got to go. You got to go.
Really?
Is
Sorry.
weight part of
Try
it?
again.
Wait, I get here. Take two. Let's
Take two,
restart.
take two.
5, 4,
This is why he practiced.
3,
You shouldn't do it.
2, 1. Let's go Panthers. Let's go Panthers. You ready for how Dan did it? This is Dan Marino. Let's go. It was like,
was
oh no, I
another
gotta
one
do
in
3.
Christ almighty, Chris.
The whole crowd was going so slow. You could hear the groans in the crowd of like, no, this is supposed to be double that speed.
You can hear the groans in the crowd right now, too.
I'm sorry. I know I did
Marino's
not
an
do
old
that well.
man. He's a 60-year-old man.
He did it for so long that they fell behind on timing. They had to cut his mic off.
It was bad, dude. I'm telling you, it's the worst one I've seen all season. I mean, it's the biggest name. I actually predicted it before Billy even texted me. I was in the car with my wife, and my wife's like, who do you guys think? And I was like, the biggest name would be Dan Marino. And then my people in the car laughed at me, and then Billy texted me, and I was like, I told you guys it was Dan Marino. But I didn't want to scoop it. I thought journalistically, I didn't want the Panthers to be mad at me, like putting that information
That's
out there.
great journalistically.
Who cares?
That's real journalism.
He finds his soul.
I
at
think the
last.
principle of journalism
We have our
is
relationships.
I don't want people to be mad at me. It's been a governing principle for me all my life.
He likes the access he has, Dan. He likes his relationship.
I'm sure
You-
Pat
no,
Riley's told you,
you-
stuff, and you're like, I can't say that
You
because I got
are-
relationships.
Yes, this. Pat Riley told me before the game, hey, you know who's banging the drum? Dan Marino. He's calling his 16th Stanley Cup final. 16th. Like, he's no Mike Breen, who's done 18 of them, but he's done 16 of them. And I want to talk some hockey with him in just a second. But Amin just told me something that I did not know. Amin's breaking some news here from the mixer last night. He learned something that I was not aware of. The greatest trophy in sports was here yesterday, the Stanley Cup trophy. And what happened at this mixer that you learned, because there were a whole bunch of important people hobnobbing?
There was a little bit of a resentment and a disdain from the NBA people about, so you guys don't want to have Larry in studio? And I said, who's Larry? And they said, Larry O'Brien. And they were very upset that we fawned all over the Stanley Cup. And we didn't even give an inch of room for the Lawrence O'Brien trophy to make his way here.
That's what I was trying to say. The best trophy in sports, and we don't want to listen to me.
It's a lesser trophy.
Well, Eddie...
Did they
Eddie,
offer? I mean...
They offered. Now, the good news, Stugotz, they offered. I said, well, can we bring it through today? And they said, absolutely. The bad news is, the people who said this were out with me last night, so I don't know if they're
drunk on the mixer on our free alcohol, so
Yep.
they can't actually make the content. It's a consistent theme around here. If you saw some of Mike's work from Las Vegas. Eddie, thank you for being on with us. Sorry to keep you waiting. I want to talk about some of the hockey stuff, but I learned here, just like Montour, that you, while your wife was in labor, you were traded. That seems like a really emotionally seismic sort of thing to go through as a human being, all of that.
Yeah, Dan, great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me. And just for the record, when that did happen, and just full disclosure, fast forward, my wife and I will be celebrating our 35th wedding anniversary on August the 6th. So if she didn't leave me then.
Very good. Eddie.
Let me tell you a quick Cliff Notes version of that story. So it's November 9th, 1990. I'm playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's a Friday night, and we have a game the next night at Maple Leaf Gardens on November the 10th. Back then, I didn't have a cell phone. I mean, I like Maxwell Smart, pull off my shoe, and call Agent 99 or whatever. And but so I used the regular landline phone, and I called the team. I said, look, I called the PR guy. My wife's going into labor. I'm not going to be at the skate around the next morning, but I am going to make the game because we're playing Chicago. Fast forward, my wife's not cooperating. It's about noon the next day, November 10th. And on a scale of 1 to 10, she's probably about a 2.5. I call the team. I say, look, nothing's happening, but I'm going to get to the game. I'm going to make the game, I promise. So sure enough, at about 5 o'clock, it's an 8 o'clock Hockey Night in Canada game, Blackhawks and Maple Leafs. My wife is starting to proceed to have our second child. The doctor comes in, and my wife's name is Diana, and says, okay, Diana, hold on a second. Let me put my catcher's mitt on, and we're going to have this baby. So he goes to the foot of the table, and while he's doing that, I get a tap on my shoulder. The nurse hands me a note, and all it says on the note, the Maple Leafs are on the phone. I tell her, tell them she's having a baby. I'll be at the game. She comes back. It seemed like 10 seconds later, but whatever. She goes, no, they really want to talk to you. I go out, I look at my wife, and I'm like, do I go to the phone? Do I stay here with my wife? Do I go to my... So I said, screw it. I'm going to go, and I'm going to go answer the call.
No.
They get on the other line, and I said, look, it was the PR guy, Bob Stellick. I said, Bob, Diana's having a baby. I'm going to be at the game. He goes, call us before you come. I said, I'm not calling. I'm coming right to the game. He says, hold on a second. He puts the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs on the phone, Floyd Smith, and he says, Eddie, we hate this. We hate to do this to you.
No. Terrible.
We've just traded you to the Winnipeg Jets.
No.
And I was like, pasta visual, what the hell am I going to do when I walk back in there? So I walk back into the room, and as I'm walking into the room, my wife is on her back, obviously, legs up, a whole 9 yards. The doctor's at the foot of the bed looking like this, and she goes, where in the hell have you been? I go, my aunt's sick. And she looks at me. I don't know what else to say.
That's all you can think of, Eddie?
That's all I can think of. Look, I just got traded, and I ended up going to Winnipeg, which ended up being one of the best places I ever played in my 16-year career. But anyways, so my wife looks at me, and she goes, where are we going? And I was like, oh my gosh, psychic and pregnant. She knows we just got traded. So I figured, well, it's a game. And I'm looking at the doctor. The doctor's at the foot of the table having this conversation, you know? And all of a sudden I'm like, well, guess. She looks at me, looks at the ceiling. And now at this time, my wife's probably about a 6.5 or a 7, getting ready to have our child. And then she looks at me, looks at the ceiling, and she goes, Winnipeg.
Oh my God.
And I go, psychic and pregnant. Next thing you know, I see the doctor pull his gloves off and goes, this baby ain't coming for another couple of hours. But Thomas Vincent Olczyk was born 3 hours later into this world. And matter of fact, he's getting married in about a month from now. So as the world turns.
Good job, Diana. Good job, Diana.
Thomas.
Diana.
Panthers.
Eddie, you shouldn't have left the room. You're a moron.
Yeah, I know.
I enjoyed that the lie was the worst lie
Really
ever
terrible
concocted
lie.
by
Like, just
my
terrible.
aunt is
My
sick.
aunt
That's
is
why I
sick.
Terrible. I mean,
I thought you were a guy who did well under pressure.
Yeah. So not in that situation. Not in that situation. Full disclosure.
Eddie, the Maple Leafs are on the phone. They want to let you know that your aunt is sick.
You left the birth of your child for a PR guy.
Yeah,
That's where
I
your
did.
priorities were at the time.
I did, and I tell, and every time we have that, every time my son has his birthday, and we have a good laugh and a good chuckle, and most players today can't believe that the general manager actually pulled me out of the delivery room. Well, actually, I chose to leave the delivery room and take the phone call, but deciding that they were going to make the trade, knowing my wife was, we were getting ready to have a child, but that's the way that it is.
Most players today can't believe that they didn't find out on Twitter.
We had the greatest ending to a game, the greatest feeling that you can have in the sport last night in South Florida. And I want to know, from your historical perspective, can you please explain to me where the Panthers reside as a surprise in your sport and how weird it is that they're still kicking around somehow in the face of some formidable odds?
Yeah, I mean, with the roller coaster year that they had, Dan, and, obviously lots of changes, massive change, considering how great of a season that they had 2 seasons ago. And then the major letdown in last year's playoffs, getting swept to Tampa Bay, bringing in Matthew Tkachuk, which has been, I mean, look at, a lot of people talked about, trades, we will evaluate the trades in, a couple of years and see how players adapt and whatever. No. Florida won that trade hands down. I mean, you talk about legends being made right before all of our eyes. I mean, Matthew Tkachuk has had 2 back-to-back unbelievable regular seasons. But this playoff, this is what legends are made of. I don't care what sport it is. You could have great regular seasons, but if you show up in the playoffs and you go the other way, or you just kind of be seen and not heard, you see him, you hear him, he steps up on the biggest stages. I played with his dad for many years in Winnipeg, by the way, his dad, Keith Tkachuk. So I think with this team is that they will not be denied. They're very resilient. I think that 9 or 10 days off, Dan, really, really hurt them in their first couple of games in Vegas. I think at times they found their game. But when you're on such a roll or such a heater, whether you're playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs or you're somebody that follows the ponies like I do at the racetrack, like when you're on a heater, like you want to keep playing, you want to keep wagering, you want to keep that nose to the grindstone. And I think that kind of hurt them a little bit. And last night, that's the way that they have to play. First off, stay out of the penalty box. It was a clown show the first couple of games in Vegas. You can't be wearing out a path to the penalty box. And I think that they got that under control to a certain extent last night. But then again, they took some really bad penalties, unnecessary penalties. And lucky for them, Vegas wasn't able to get any separation in that game. And let's not forget how well Sergei Bobrovsky played, especially in that second period late. And then in that third period to give his team an opportunity to be only down 1 goal And then eventually Matthew scored, and then Carter Verhaeghe with the OTGWG in Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Are you surprised in any way that Eddie Olczyk says he plays the ponies?
Eddie, did it feel to you like Vegas had a target pinned on Tkachuk last night? Like, it felt like they were just trying to keep him down the whole game.
I mean, look, he got run over, and that stuff happens, and he ended up leaving the game for a good stretch. But I mean, he's such an important part. I mean, he's always right in the middle of something that is going on for the Florida Panthers, whether they're up 2, down 2, doesn't matter the situation. But I don't think any other. I really. I don't think it's anything out of the ordinary. I mean, Vegas is a big, heavy team, and they're very selective. I think that's the one thing that's been a difference in the series, more so the first couple of games than last night, because I think Florida was better at it, is that not necessarily running out of position to make hits, because when you run out of position, there's a good chance that somebody else is going to be open behind you. But Matthew Tkachuk is around every play, regardless of what's going on, and he has that ability to, as I like to say, talk a stamp off an envelope, and sometimes it gets under people's skin. And if some people don't know what a stamp in an envelope is look it up on the World Wide Web.
Eddie, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Hey, the Belmont is tomorrow. Oh, by the way, real quick, hockey tie tomorrow in the Belmont. Vinny and Teresa Viola, the terrific owners of the Florida Panthers, will have the favorite in the Belmont tomorrow. Wow. The name of the horse is Forte. Number 6, they're trying to win a third jewel, the Triple Crown. And if you want to put a little money on a horse, I like the 7-horse Hit Show, just like your show, Dan.
Eddie, 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 Eddie,
Diana.
Hold on, I got to expose Billy.
What
here
horse was
because,
that?
What he did, Hit Show.
7 hit?
Forte,
the
6.
The 7. I've got to expose Billy. Billy, who started paying
Hey.
attention to hockey 3 periods ago.
Not a Stanley Cup final game happens in Sunrise without me, Dan.
It is not just that he asked Eddie a specific hockey question. It's that he was reading verbatim Roy's exact tweet. Roy was furious because he wanted to ask a question himself. He got bumped by both Billy and MTV Sport Finland. Roy, there's a lack of respect going on around here that's not okay. You missed the Stanley Cup and all the free booze.
3, 2, 1.
So Eddie had an amazing excuse of telling his wife that when the Maple Leafs called, his aunt was sick.
You're calling that amazing?
An all-timer.
Yeah, I have one that's worse, if
No
you can
way.
believe it. Yeah,
No way.
I once went on a first date, like this is 10, 12 years ago now, and I get there and immediately I was like, this guy's a dud. Yeah. I can't. I was like, I can't sit through.
Jeez.
Like I couldn't talk. I was like, I can't sit through this. I
You had
had
to
like
pull the parachute.
half a drink left and I'm panicking. I'm like, I can't be here anymore. I was like, oh, hold on 1 second. Pretending my roommate, who's my best friend, was calling me. I go outside and I call her. And I was like, this is the worst date of my life. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, our dishwasher broke. And I was like, perfect.
Wow.
I go back
That's all you
inside.
needed.
I go inside and I say to him, I was like, I am so sorry. I have to leave. My dishwasher broke.
There's flooding everywhere in the
And
kitchen.
he was like, what? And I was like, soap is everywhere. It is a huge problem.
Bubbles everywhere. It's like one big bubble
Yeah,
bath.
what? It's just like the splish splash situation.
But your roommate can't handle it. Can't handle it
and
by herself.
I left. I didn't even finish my drink. I left.
He offered to help. He's
And
like,
to
I'll come
this-
back with you. I
yeah.
gotta, like, I can help
To
you.
this day,
I'm actually a mechanic.
I
I
both,
love soap.
Yeah, I feel
don't need a
bad about
mechanic.
it. But yeah, I'm like, we got it. I feel bad about it. Also, kind of proud of myself that I just rolled with it.
And now you guys are engaged. How about that? What a journey.
It is the horror it would have been if he had just said, "Yes, I'm a dishwasher repairman."
Can you imagine?
Maytag.
Can you
Maytag
imagine?
repairman. Yes.
There's one on the way
I
already,
hadn't
is
even
what you
done
say.
my. I
okay?
didn't even. We didn't even get to what he did. He could have been.
I mean, I want to talk to you about some Heat things that we didn't get to yesterday because Mike Ryan was yelling that everything is rigged.
What a jerk.
Rigged. A couple of things I want to get to with you. If the Heat have 4 turnovers in the game and allow Denver to only make 5 threes, that's not a game you should lose at home by double digits. Just those 2 things by themselves. You're playing maximum efficient on your side and not making baskets, obviously, but not turning the ball over, not making mistakes, not allowing fast, easy baskets.
Is this a question or a statement?
It is. Here's the question. The question is, as you and others demand Bam play better, what's the rebuttal to he can't? The other guy's better than he is.
Well, I don't think anyone's asking him to play better than Jokic. We're just saying, don't play bad. Don't play.
But you're saying be aggressive against that guy, and it's hard to be aggressive again because he's better than you are.
No, I don't subscribe to that. Like, I think the idea is Bam settles for that mid-range jumper a lot. And on days that he's hitting it, it's awesome. But on days where you're 6 of 18 or whatever he was, like, hey, here's an idea. Yeah, he's bigger than you. Also, you're quick and you jump out of the gym and you're extremely long and you're a skilled basketball player. Take it to the rim. Like, dare them to stop you. And by the way, they did. There was a couple of times where he went up and he got blocked or smothered. But to me, I just don't think that the mid-range jumper, when it's not falling, is the answer. And there's probably no better example than what happened when the Heat made that last push and Duncan Robinson hit a 3, and they've got a
We were talking about that. I mean,
Yep.
at the last play, Duncan hits the 3. They cut it to, what was it, 9 or 10?
9.
All of a sudden, Bam gets the ball and shoots an
of a turnover. They
off a
forced
turnover.
They forced a turnover, so we have momentum going.
And he shoots that elbow line jumper where it was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and he had a couple of people.
Your coverage is hungover.
Yeah, you can hear the mixer in your
coverage
voice.
is
Yep.
hungover. Your points are
Wait.
drifting off.
Hold on a second. Guys,
What?
Bam is averaging 23 and 14.
No.
Don't do the no thing to me. If I told you that before the series, Bam was giving you 23 and 14 against that creature, you would have taken it. It's Jimmy Butler who is not giving you enough. It is not Bam. He's the best player. He's the guy being mentioned in the same sentence as Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, and he's giving you nothing in the NBA
Not
Finals.
nothing, but not what he's been.
He played a lot better than Bam last game.
And Stephen A. Smith, who got dunked on a little bit yesterday.
By whomst?
I mean, J.J. Redick pointed out when Stephen A. is saying that Jokic's postgame isn't special, Redick said, you know what's the most efficient play anywhere in basketball in the last decade of data tracking in the half court? Jokic in the post.
Yeah.
Woof.
Well, that's, I mean, what Reddick said afterward was boom. He actually said the boom afterward.
He literally said boom.
He
He's
said
getting good at
boom.
this.
I think
He's
Jay
good.
Williams also said boom, where Stephen A's like, post game's not that special. It's the most efficient play in the sport for 10 years.
This thing where people
Just looks ugly. I mean,
I just like
it's
I
like
don't
garbage
understand-
man.
I don't understand it. I don't understand this, whether it's Stugotz, whether it's Stephen A. Smith, whether it's whoever. This idea that like you guys are kind of overhyping this Jokic. That's the overall message, right? Is that he's not all that, and I just don't understand why people get off on that because he's incredible.
No,
It's
I'm
undeniable.
acknowledging that he is great. I figured it out when I was watching the game the other night.
You said
I
while
don't-
yawning.
I
You
don't-
said while yawning is
I
what
did.
you texted me.
I yawned a
Amazing
few
triple
times.
double. I
Yeah.
yawned throughout it.
I never yawned watching Michael Jordan. I never yawned watching Kobe Bryant. I never yawned watching Dwayne Wade. Here's the problem with Jokic. He's a great player. I'm acknowledging that. Best player in the game, okay? I don't want to watch and ask myself, how? I just want to watch and go, oh, my God.
That's
Oh
what I'm
my
doing the entire
God.
time I'm watching him.
I'm not. I'm asking how.
I call BS. I think you have yawned during a Dwayne Wade game.
Probably.
Stu, I think I have a 90s baseball comparison for you that maybe can get you on board with Jokic.
Okay.
I think that Nikola Jokic is Greg Maddux.
Wow.
And that Greg Maddux was as dominant as any pitcher in Major League Baseball in the 90s. Was he as entertaining to watch as Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez, these flamethrowers with crazy sliders and all these other pitches? No, he just was constantly great, and batters would say they went a comfortable 0 for 4 against him, but 0 for 4 nonetheless. You guard Jokic for 22 seconds, and then he's going to throw something up that looks like he's literally throwing it overhand,
junk.
and it's going to bounce around the rim and somehow end up going in, but he's going to be the greatest. Nikola Jokic.
A
Greg
couple
Maddux.
of Stephen A. items that I was getting to because I don't want to sink into the hole again of Jokic is unlike anyone we've ever seen. Stugotz is bored by him. Okay. Like he's not alone. And when I went out there with the take of, I think part of his stardom issue is that he's not American, that got aggregated, that got weaponized. But there are a number of reasons that it's so, and one of them is also that he's not American, and another one is that he's fighting through interviews in a second language, and so you don't get the personality of the interview, and some people don't like the personality of the game. Also, that he plays like Tim Duncan, doesn't seem interested in fame, plays in Denver, a lot of different reasons. But basketball people, and you've got to cross over to be transcendent. To be a star, you got to get out of basketball. Basketball people are like, holy shit, never seen anything like it. Most amazing, beautiful thing, not ugly, not boring. Don't know how it happens, but the mystery is discovery and awe and wonder to watch it unfold because Bam Adebayo, all of that athleticism gets stuck in his navel. Like, might go 23-14, but doesn't look like himself. Jokic looks like himself against everybody. Nobody bothers him, and he's not having any of the inefficient Jimmy games. It's not going to happen. Like, can you show me the last time he went something like 7 for 20? That's not something that happens to him. He's going to shoot 50% in every game because he's smarter and better than everybody who's playing it.
Even Murray said after the game, he's like, I don't think the consistency gets talked about enough. And I think watching Jokic, the reason I love it, I know I've joked about like it looks like he's going to work or, you know, Jokic, he's just like us. I think that there's something sort of magical about not knowing exactly what is going to happen, but knowing that it's going to be spectacular and it's going to be quick. Like when he has an amazing assist, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know it's going to get there. And that to me, it's like very rewarding.
But you say it's quick, and the fascinating thing about him is it's quick and also incredibly slow.
Well, he moves. He's like,
Now you're coming around.
But this is part of the problem. It doesn't look like you're watching ballet in the air. It looks like you're cooking molasses.
No, but he has touches where he gets it and immediately it's off. I don't know. I think that there's a little bit of grace in there.
I just scrolled through his entire season, and I can find 2 poor shooting games all season, including the playoffs.
He had a couple of 9 to 21s, though.
There's 2.
Poor?
I see 30% and 27% in 2 games. Look, these are the
They're wrong.
field
I don't
goal
believe that,
percentage.
Dan.
I'm
He
looking
hasn't
at
missed a shot in the playoffs, by the way. I haven't seen him make a shot.
every game,
makes
50,
every shot.
60, 70.
He makes
He's in
every
the,
shot.
He's in the 60% range on average. This is insane.
It's the droning excellence of Pete Sampras. It's the boring excellence of Tim Duncan, except better, because I would take Jokic against Tim Duncan.
Would you? The big fundamental?
Show me the 3 consecutive MVPs Tim Duncan should have won.
I mean, show me the rings that Jokic
There it
has.
is.
Okay.
Attaboy, Stugotz.
Yeah,
You walk
good.
right into his house.
He's getting started.
Jokic-
I mean, Duncan's career is over. Jokic isn't started.
Jokic is like the best guy ever at missionary sex.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Is Jokic like the best guy ever at missionary sex?
The only thing that makes that take even better is Chris delivered it with all seriousness, just stone faces. Like,
He didn't smile for like 5 seconds after he said it.
That was
Well, this is another
well-crafted.
reason. This is another reason Jokic is not someone who's more popular. What he's doing doesn't look like he's enjoying it. All of us would be enjoying the holy hell out of that missionary sex.
Because he's not doing the doggy style. That's what.
All right, go sit in the pedal.
You gotta go,
Can't
man.
be subtle.
So heavy-handed.
Incapable
My
of it.
geez.
Just incapable of it. Somehow less subtle than Stugotz. It's breathtaking. It really is. The thing I was saying about Stephen A. Smith, though, when I say breathtaking,
See ya.
both Stephen A. and J.J. Redick were on television frustrated by the heavy breathing of Kendrick Perkins. Like they called
like, "Are you
it out.
making noises?"
Big
They
Perk.
called it out. They learned like you sound like you have apnea. Like stop breathing so heavy.
Was he in Denver?
And Stephen A. Smith has said, as we spread the blame around here, it's Jimmy, it's Bam, all of you be better than that garbage truck with hands. Also, Stephen A. Smith is saying, where the hell is Caleb Martin?
Everyone's tired, man.
Where the
He
hell
was at
is
the mixer last night, I think.
He was at the mixer, Dan.
I met him.
What?
Oh, Mr. Martin.
I missed that.
You missed everything.
You missed
wrong.
Cody Martin, too.
You missed everything.
I miss Cody.